I'm just looking around searching for some wood roots. If I find one, I'm impressed by its beauty, and I take it and reuse it to do something else from this. Or smaller one that I do candlesticks and things like that. Doesn't matter. This talk will take around 30 minutes, so last minutes are for your questions on the slider. So, but before I will explain the title of this talk, let me tell you the story. Once upon a time, there was a system. Let's call it Harry Kingdom. And it lived in wealth and peace, but bad times came. Someone has found a bug. Ugly people called him a tester, but that might be just a rumor. So, King of the Kingdom tried to save the system. So, he established a daily meetings. He called architects to explain the system to him. He even involved external consultants paying the money from the treasure. But all he got was awareness that today no one understands the system. The priest king made a tough decision. He reset the system to the bare metal. At least the bugs were gone. But slowly it started to rebuild the system, but it will take time to recreate all the past glory. Question is, do you recognize your daily life business in testing in this fairy tale? How many times have you met test script or test automation library so buggy, so fragile, something that was finding no bugs in tested system, but just bugs in itself. And you waste time till you realize this. Have you met such a test scripts, such a libraries? Do you want to use such kind of a software? So let me now explain. There is a movement called slow food. You can read what it is on the wiki. However, I will shortly tell you slow food is just against fast food. And indeed, it was created as a reaction for opening McDonald's near the Spanish Steps in Rome. And it has its manifesto. Everyone has the right to good, clean, and fair food. If I think about fast food has its place in our universe. You will know it, or you know it, especially if you are parents, driving in a car with your kids on the long journey. So if you take a break and you go to the McDonald's on the street, then they will call you, your kids, our blessed Father. However, if I want to go for a date with my wife, I would rather prefer Krakow Old City, somewhere in basements, a good restaurant with good wine, music, atmosphere. Yeah? And there, we will not be in a hurry. We will taste our time. So, question is, isn't the same with software? Don't you think that these buggy libraries are just made because they are made in a hurry? And this is what I want to coin in parallel to slow food. I call it slow code. And the manifesto is, everyone has the right to good, clean, and fair code. Aren't you afraid? Someone is telling you to slow down and create slowly good quality software. Aren't we in business? Can we miss the date? Then we will be out of the business, out of the money. Okay? Ooh, dark forces against slow code. So let's look at them. What are they and how to deal with them? For example, your manager might start to be nervous if you are just a week before your deadline, yeah, and you are not ready with your code. There might be a team waiting for your software, so you are blocking them, really. And at the end, this is just a business opportunity window. If you miss the date, you are gone. So, how to deal with this? Sorry. How to deal with this time pressure forces? There are a few possibilities. I'll just mention a few. For example, think out about creating API for the software you are preparing. An API is a kind of contract between you and your end users. This way, you unblock them. They can code their stuff on this API, and even if you don't have the very good quality software, you can improve its quality in the future because you have this firewall of your contract of API. You can think out about wasting time for building good continuous integration system, because this way you will be secured. Then you can quickly check if something was working a minute ago and now I've made a change. Is it still working? Think about an impact analysis. What is the cost of finding the bug in this specific piece of software? If it is test case, then the bug in this test case will fail this test case, others not. If it is something common for multiple test cases used by multiple teams, the cost of this bug is job of this few teams. However, if it is widely shared common software like, let's say, Python standard library, then the impact of the bug in this place is huge. So in such case, you can't afford, you can't compromise quality for the time. You may also think out about who else might benefit from the piece of code I've just created. So even if I will slow down a little bit delivery in my team, if this part might be reused in different software frameworks, scripts, so on, different teams, different sites, and all of them are your company, in total, you save the time. Okay, but now the question, there are just four. You can think about other solutions. However, the question now is it true? Does it work? What is my story? What is my software, my example to show you? Okay, I'm working in telecom, test automation of eNode BIS. eNode BIS are those network elements that get the radio signal from your mobile. So I knew for sure that we will need to automate mobiles. When I looked around, I realized, okay, here are people doing this stuff, and here is UE mobile simulator, and there is a library automating this UE simulator, and there are test scripts made based on this library for automating UE simulator. And here are Android UIs, and the library to control Android UIs via ADB interface and the tests using this library to control Android use. But wait a moment. Aren't all of them just LTE UIs defined by 3GPP standardization bodies? What if test script would speak in LTE standard language, not a tool-specific language, okay? Then we will gain the portability. And what is current implementation of this UI doesn't matter for the tester. And this is how the abstract UI library was born in 2015. It started from cooperation, our Krakow center, with Nokia Finland in Oulu. For a proof of concept, we have automated here in Krakow a Qualcomm-based UIs and MACG UIs, doesn't matter what it is, in Finland. And it worked, using the same language for the tester. So, and the key point here is that those test scripts were written in a domain language of our tester, because our testers are LTE telecom testers. So we spent some time, but problem is how to wisely use this time. I don't like to discuss about architecture when I'm creating the software and starting just by design documentation or even UML diagrams and so on. I want to speak with people face to face, and I want to have people from broad audience representing different testers from different sides. This way I can realize something that I couldn't just find out by myself. And it was so. Up till now, it was like 4 times, whole the week, workshops, meeting people from Finland, Germany, Poland, Krakow, Wrocław, meeting together, spending their time just discussing about architecture to make our life as library creators easier in the future, to simplify our maintenance, and majority of the time was on discussing how it should look like, the API of the software, to let it speak in native language of our testers, okay? And we have done it because we believe that you, as a tester community, you have a right to good code, easy to use. Slow, I mean also that I slow down because I want to have a time for thinking. Who has heard the sentence, "Don't touch it, it's working"? Raise your hands. Okay. Who has heard the sentence, "The butter is an enemy of good enough"? Yeah. Raise your hands, please. Yeah, you know it. So, those sentences have their place. However, I hate them. Why? Because too frequently they are used as a final argument to stop real technical discussion, real analysis of what is it, okay? And especially discussion about a need for refactoring the code. Because if you code over the years, for sure you will find out yourself in the position that you know what you have made wrong. You remember your own code and you would like to change something. You might be lucky. You might be lucky that you have operable system that keeps business going, and you get the time, you get the permission to refactor something that you have made wrong. I was lucky, because there was such a system, the name is simple, Test Automation Framework, okay? Having 16 years of history, but it was made in Perl. And there are decreasing amount of the people on the market knowing Perl, and Python is taking test automation, so would be great to rewrite it in Python. However, this framework had majority of the things that are required for telecom testing. So it had things like devices objects that represent things like routers, Unix boxes, attenuators, so on stuff, connections to those devices to transfer the data, parsing of the command lines of those devices, something to observe the bad things happening in the background, like reboots, okay? Of course, logs, and everything going in parallel. So this was the good stuff of this framework. However, I knew what was bad. It was too monolithic, too complicated. People really complained about difficulties in learning before they started to be fluent in writing test scripts. Too low reuse of open source libraries, so it was a cost for us for maintenance. It wasn't done test-driven development, and just there were tests, but not as much as I would like. So it was not clean software for users. And because of this good stuff testers liked, we decided to rewrite it in a Python, and this is how the Molar library was born around a year ago. So let me show you, to show just a few examples, how we fight for this code to be clean, okay? Just a month ago, we were new to the release. Then we have found, this is the a symbol for the command, okay, it's command line. We found that there is a single bug in a single command. If I correctly remember, it was IPerf command, okay? What is the cost of the bug in this command? Maybe it is this command. Maybe we should release it and just put in release notes for the users, testers, community. Everything is okay, but just only in this command there's a bug. But when we have looked deeply into this, we realized that, okay, I need to explain the picture for you, a bit of architecture. To let this command to work with a remote device, we needed connection to the remote device. In our case, this connection has two parts. One is this with a mole inside. We call it a molar connection. And its goal is to do dispatching of the data to this eye, which is connection observer, entity responsible for catching unexpected behavior like too high CPU usage, reboots of the software, alarms on the device, and things like that. And this black arrow on the right is, we call it external I/O. So it's responsible for real transfer of bytes over the network. And it uncaught exception inside this single command caused this thread to die because it was threaded implementation right now. And because of a dying thread of the connection, none of the connection observers could get the data, so they all time out. So the impact was not so small as we thought in the first glimpse, okay? So we decided to stop the release, fix the bug, and release it. We've made the release 2 days ago, something like this. And we do it because we believe that our end users have the right to clean code, especially, of course, we can't find all the bugs in our software. However, if we are aware of some bug, we should not deliver it and force people to find bugs for us. But this is clean from the viewpoint of end users, free of bugs. Let's look differently. let's look from the perspective of maintainers of this code, library creators. There are also people doing this. And there are rules for naming in different languages, different rules. However, generic rule, I might say that you should name your software piece that way that will match the meaning of this. So you should use nouns for thing, something that represents that thing in your universe. You should use verbs for functions, methods, because they represent action that you want to do. Or you use adjective for variables, storing Boolean data, or functions, methods, returning Boolean data. Sometimes you need to add some context because given name might be too broad. In this case, observer is well-known term in software engineering, so there is observer design pattern, so what observer is? So here it's obvious it is something that is observing the connection. Why? Why we should pay attention to such details as naming in our source code? And I will quote, clean code is something that can be read as well-written prose. Who said it? Grady Booch. If you don't know him, one of three fathers of the unified modeling language. And that is why, because we believe that also maintainers of this code have a right for readable, easily maintainable code. Okay. Do you know the term open source? I know you know. My daily open source tool that I get for free is Python. But question is, shall I always just take from open source, or maybe I should also give to open source? We do give. This Molar library was open sourced by Nokia. You have a link here. This is because we believe this is the meaning of a fair here, that everyone has a right for fair code. I take Python to create Molar. I put some of our telecom knowledge inside this library and I give it back. Question is, who out of you has created some open source code or participated, supported open source code? Stand up, please. Be brave, yeah. Yeah, there are a few people. Okay? No, not sit down, not sit down. The rest of us, applause, please. Thank those people. You have for free the code of them. Okay, but question. Is fair related only to things, soft things like licensing, open sourcing, things like that? Or may it be applied to much more technical stuff? Example. How many times have you seen the software that is deployed in such a way that you can take everything or nothing? You just used 10% of the software, but you need to take everything and it just occupies your hard disk and you use 10% of this, okay? And I've made the same fault myself. During creation of this tough framework in Perl, I remember myself, people coming to me and asking, hey Greg, may I just take the SSH connection from this stuff library? Because that's all I need. Yeah, wait, give me a second. It is connected with event loop, handler's registration and device, state machines inside device. No, it won't be so easy to just take out this part. And while creating the molar, one of my assumptions was to give people that freedom to easily select the part they really need and exchange other parts, for example. How it is made? Here is this command object. Its responsibility is just starting the command, parsing its output, and storing the result of this parsing inside this object itself. Then it uses molar connection, which is responsible for decoding, encoding into bytes, because external I/O is just passing the bytes over the network. So it needs open, close, send, receive methods. But the only thing to combine those two, external I/O and molar connection, are just two methods, send and data receive. And thanks to this, that this interface is so narrow, you can easily exchange this external I/O to I/O you wish. This is exactly how it looks like in Python. So when you create new external I/O, all you need is to tell molar connection how to send the data. So you tell which function realizes sending the data, and a function should have just only single parameter stream of bytes, yes? And when external I/O gets the data via this receive, it needs just to forward it into this data received of the molar connection, and that's it. Okay, so now I can say with clear conscience that, yeah, you can either take external I/O, molar connection, and command from this framework. You can even exchange or add new external I/O, new type of connections to this. You can even exchange our implementation of, let's say, this threaded shell with your async I/O shell. Yeah, you can do it. So, if I was able to do it, I'm sure you are able to do it too. So you can create architecture that is fair for your users, that they will be able to take the part they really need without all other stuff. And that's fair. By the way, I have asked a few people, being software stakeholders, to tell you something.
Jokaisella on oikeus hyvään, järjestelmälliseen ja avoimeen koodiin.
Jeder hat das Recht auf guten, sauberen und fairen Quellcode.
Każdy ma prawo do dobrego, czystego i uczciwego kodu.
每个人都有权利接受优秀、整洁、合理的代码。
Everyone has the right to good, clean, and fair code.
Okay, and now it's time for us. Repeat, please. Everyone has the right to good, clean, and fair code. So an action for you. Demand such software and create such by yourself. Thank you. Now it's time for questions.
Yes.
But there are gifts for questions, so just a second.
Okay, so can we switch to the first question?
Who wants to be first slow coder? Okay. Here is slow code t-shirt. You need to know your size. I will start to be a first slow coder.
Okay. So the first question is, your best approach to write amazing code at the finish line, including deadlines, figuring out how to make it work, refactoring, etc. How you suggest to do it? What are your steps?
You start for, sorry, can you help me with this? It's okay? You should start from speaking with people. Otherwise, you will design your software just for yourself. It won't be reusable. So it's really wise to collect the people from different viewpoints, either software engineers doing the code for this architectural construction, and also testers, and especially testers from different teams. So this would be amazing. There's nothing like, I would say, amazing code. We strive for making a good code, and it is fair if we strive for this. If we are lazy and we just code, that's not the way I would like to suggest. Including deadlines. Yeah, I've shown you. It's our reality that we have a time pressure, that we need to meet the deadlines. But I remember from the history that was the beginning of the staff libraries was like this, that few people decide to, they need to do some testing, okay? And they decide instead of doing test cases, they will create library for speeding up building these test cases. Of course, they were punished by their managers because no test cases increased. Some stuff doing in the library. But later on, just thanks to this library, they were able to meet the date even a week or two, I remember, before the deadline. Because they wisely use this time, they realize what will be needed in the future. Of course, one important note, slow code is not for everything. You need to wisely realize which is widely reusable code. There's no reason to polish everything, to polish the code that is just one shot or a very quick test case and it's gone. If you should think about find such a code that has a long-term profit. I don't know if I have answered. Probably no.
Okay, so maybe next one. How to find compromise with slow code and deadlines, money incomes, based on your experience?
You need to collect good people. Because I'm a kind of pedantic librarian, so this is my place to build the code. So I need a person that pushes me. And you do the same. You find this compromise by finding the people with, I call them executors, okay? They will push, they are very quick in finding the bugs, in doing test scripts and so on. But if you will leave only those kind of people, you will have a test framework that you will throw away after a year or two. But if you invest in some people, sometimes they are geeks just doing this coding, they are very pedantic, they need to translators to those people because otherwise they will hit each other. But they are able to create amazing quality software. So try to find the people with different view, especially this. One is time-focused person, goal-focused. Another is pedantic for quality, looking for, in long term, what will be benefit of given architecture or such things.
Okay, next question. How to persuade managers to slow down and implement slow code in fast-changing IT environment?
Yeah, I must say, from my experience, I started with my too technical attitude, so I tried to explain them, telling, don't you know design patterns? Or this will code optimization, stuff like that. No way, they don't understand this language anymore. So you need to speak in money and time. You need to train yourself or find a person that will translate your technical aspects or your technical vision into the money savings, time savings, and then you go to manager and say, okay, If we slow down in this area, we will do it much better. Find another person that will do my test for me, and I will have a time to polish this library. Then, in the year or two, you have a profit. Scripts start to be, test cases start to be created much quicker. You will find much more bugs because of the quality. Because my observation is, too many times people are fighting with the bugs. There is a bug, okay, test fails. And then after hours, days of debugging, it was just a bug in test environment, okay? So it's not finding the real bug in a system that we want to test, it's finding bugs in itself, or detects that someone has been in lab and take off the cable, okay? And you can see it only by deeply looking somewhere in your logs. While this should be visible for the tester. My test fails because the cable was broken. Find this guy who made it. And that's it. And then this is visible. It's not the bug of a tested system, it's just environmental issue. But it is found quickly, not wasting time on it.
Next question. As much as I like the reference, do you really think slow code will catch up? The name brings slow up performance to mind.
Yes. I especially found it because it's intriguing. It's anti-pattern. We need to speed up our things. But what I'm trying to tell you all this half an hour is to take the time and change its meaning. That slow code means you slow down and you taste the quality of the software you are creating for the future profits. I don't know if you will find it a good name, but this is what I'm trying to achieve here.
How to persuade your peers to take their time and write clean, maintainable code when they just want to do it as fast as possible?
Yeah. I'm Python trainer, and I like training people. And what I like the most is letting them do the mistakes. So I should create such an environment that they will feel the pain of the code they are creating. I remember myself on my first job. Once, the code was so unreadable that the CEO of the company decided that once for a month, a given team will be given a chance just to clean up the code, okay? So no new functionalities, just clean up the code, and to not kill those people, it was shifted. One team, next month, and so on and so on. We call it, we are slaves on the galleries. It was really, really pain, but it shows that there is a cost of poor quality, unreadable, unmaintainable code. So you should allow people to feel the pain of a bad code. That's what I can say.
Okay, we have time for one more question, so this is the last one. What do you do when you really don't have time for slow code?
I delegate. Or I train people like you to write slow code.
Okay, this was the last question. Sorry, we are out of time.
If someone wants to have slow coder t-shirt, I have just few of them, I don't know how much, so you can come and take.
Okay, before you do that, let's give a big applause to Grzegorz.
Thank you.